Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the latest Bake Off Learn. We're going to be looking at sequences. We know that we've just looked at sequences. We covered it in year 10, but it's a really good revision thing. Firstly, because like a lot of these things, I like picking the things which are good kind of workouts for your brain. Secondly, you will be guaranteed to have questions on sequences in your exam. Okay, so sequences at the very simple level. Good example of them would be a times table. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's a sequence. We know that. It's because it's following a certain pattern. Okay, so any times table would be a sequence, or anything that is going up in a certain number of steps will be a sequence. Problem is, we are GCSE students, and so therefore we have to look at slightly more complex sequences, which is what we're going to look at here. If I start grinning, by the way, it's because Miss Tone is just over there watching this happen. So just to let you know, if I start smiling randomly, that's why. So here are the first 5 terms of a sequence. Okay, so 2 to 4, what's that gone up in? That's gone up in 2s, isn't it? So that sequence is going up in 2s. So 2, 4, doesn't work. So we have to start looking at it in a bit more detail. Well, this first step between the 2 terms, that's gone up in a 2. Well, what's the difference between 4 and 7? 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, that's gone up in a 3. What about 7 to 11? 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, that's gone up in 4. So we can see there's a pattern, okay? We can see this is a sequence. It's just that the steps are different. So 2, 3, 4, we know what's coming next, don't we? The next one's going to be 5. Let's have a look at the question, write down the next 2 terms in this sequence. So what do we think the next gap is going to be? So 2, 3, 4, 5. The next gap is going to be 6. So we need to add 6 onto 16, which means the next term will be 22. What's the next gap going to be? And from that, we can work out the final term. And that's just got us 2 marks. Okay, at GCSE level, you will get questions like this. Excuse me. So don't just assume that the gaps are always going to be the same. Okay, just take the time to make sure what you're doing. Now, that's one type of sequence kind of question that you're going to get. Let's have a look at this one. The first term in a sequence is 3. The term to term rule is to add 5. So the first term is 3. The gap, the term to term rule, is to add 5. Is 97 a term in this sequence? Give a reason for your answer. This is trickier, okay, but I'm just going to give you an idea of the kind of things to look at. So the gap is 5. So what's 3 plus 5 will give us 8. Let's add another 5. We've got 13. Let's add another 5. We've got 18. We can start to see a pattern here, can't we? What do the end numbers always end in? They always seem to end in 3 or 8. If we were to carry that on, that's exactly what that sequence would look like. So if we look back, is 97 a term in this sequence? Well, it's not going to be, because the numbers are always going to end in 3 and 8, okay? There's not really an easy way of teaching that. It's just letting you know the kind of things that you have to look for when you're looking at that type of question, okay? Let's have another look, a look at a different type of question. Now, this is what we've been focusing on recently. This is the one that I kind of wanted us to get to. This is the nth term rule. This one does have a definite pattern to teach you, because we have learned a series of steps that enable us to answer these kind of questions. So let's have a look at our sequence here. 9, 14, 19, 24, 29. Find an expression in terms of n for the nth term of this sequence. This is our nth term rule. Can you remember the first step that we always do? We number the terms. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are n. We're going to call them n. They're all different. We know it's a number. It's n. Can you remember the second step? The second step is to find the common difference. Now, the common difference in a GCSE question on foundation level is going to be the same. So what's the difference between 9 and 14? It's 5. Difference between 14 and 19 is 5. So that is our common difference. So that's the next thing we're going to put in our equation. We got 5n, okay? In algebra, remember, a number and a letter always means the number times by the letter, or the letter times by the number, it doesn't really matter. So we've got 5n. So we're going to work that out. Well, if we take n as being 1, what's 5 times 1? Gives us 5. What do we have to do to 5 to turn it into 9? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have to add on 4. In theory, that's our nth term rule. How can we work out whether or not that's correct? We can check it against one of the other terms. So let's just choose a different term. Let's take the third term. So this time n is worth 3. So what's 5 times 3? 15. Add on another 4 gives us 19. So we know that that is correct. That nth term works. Okay? Let's have a look at the next one. Here are the first 5 terms of an arithmetic sequence. Find an expression in terms of n for the nth term of this sequence. It's another nth term rule question. What's the first step? Number the terms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've now found n. What am I going to do now? I'm going to find my common difference. Now, here's the reason I've included this one. We've got a negative number here. I don't want to work with that really, so I'm going to look up here. What's the difference between 1 and 5? It's 4. The difference between 5 and 9 is 4. So we know our common difference is 4. So we've now got 4n. What do? We multiply 4 by n. We can choose any of these n's that we like. I don't want to work with a negative number, so I'm going to choose this one. What's 4 times 2? Well, that will give me 8. What do I have to do to 8 to turn it into 1? I have to take away 7. In theory, that's my nth term rule. How can I work out if it's correct? I can test it. Let's try it on the third term. What's 4 times 3? Gives us 12. Take away 7 takes us down to 5. So it works. We know that we've got that correct. Okay? In your worksheet or in the work that I'm providing with this video, there's going to be quite a few of these. Now, let's look at a different type of question. A number sequence has an nth term. In fact, you know what? I think we'll do that one last. Let's do this one instead, okay? A sequence of numbers is shown 2, 9, 16, 23, 30. Find an expression for the nth term of this sequence. Let's do it again. Number our terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is going to be n. What's our common difference? We can work that out. It's going to be 7. Now we need to do the calculations. So 7 times n, well, let's just use 1. 7 times 1 gives us 7. What do we have to do to 7 to turn it into 2? We take away 5. In theory, that's our nth term rule. Let's test it. Let's choose this one. 7 times 3 gives us 21. What do we have to do? Take away 5 gives us 16. So it works. This is our nth term rule. Okay? Find the 100th term in this sequence. This is what the nth term is used for. This is the purpose of it. So if I was to carry on my n's all the way up, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 100, I just have to use this formula to work out the 100th term. Because remember, now we're just going to say that 100 is the number of our term. It's our n. So we're going to say 7 times 100 will give us 700. Take away 5 gives us 695. I've just realised I've put that on completely the wrong line, which is going to be confusing because this is the question down here. So the 100th term of this sequence will be 695 by using that nth term rule. I think that was our last slide. So let's go back and have a go at this one. A number sequence has an nth term of 6n plus 3. Write down the first 4 terms of this sequence. Okay, we can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 6n. What's 6 times 1? Gives us 6. Add 3 gives us 9. 6n. 6 times 2 gives us 12. Add 3, 15. 6n. 6 times 3, 18. Add 5 gives us 21. It's always nerve-wracking this in case you get it wrong because I've got people watching. And 6n. 6 times 4 gives us 24. Add 3, 27. Okay, and we are going up in steps of 6. That's how we use the nth term rule. As always, have a go at the questions. If you're not understanding something, re-watch the video. If you've got any questions after that, come and see me next week.